do I press to get it to my phone?
Just there.
Oh, okay.
I'm not fancy like Kingsley. Don't have a clicker.
Okay. Right, so
Right, quiet everybody, please. Put my jump on as uncle.
this is my pitch. So my first idea I had was to create like a documentary around Man United and like how the club's sort of gone into like disrepair and how it's like how it went from the glory days to like how it is now, and then talking about things like the Old Trafford regeneration project and things like that. But the thing is with, I've got it on the next slide actually. The thing is with it'd be a good idea because I'm obviously passionate about football. I know a lot about it, so I wouldn't have to I'd have to still research, but not as much research because I've got a bit of general knowledge about it. But the audience isn't very, like it's not a very broad audience because not everyone's interested in football, so that would limit me. And I feel like I've done a lot of football in a lot of different projects and things like that. And it doesn't really challenge me, so I wanted to try and find something and come up with something that's a bit different. So the idea that I've gone with is to create like a documentary about mental health and social media and basically the links between it. So I'm going to talk about like the good side of it because there is positives, the bad side of it, solutions and ways that like you can manage impacts and things like that, case studies and things like that. I'm going to open it with talking about how social media was like the founding things and how it all started and things like that. Give like a brief summary of how like Facebook was created and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to have like a final conclusion segment about just drawing all the ideas together. So I want like interview segments. So in my Whitworth project, we did like an interview with Archie, and I really liked the way we'd created it. It was supposed to, the way we'd set up the lighting was supposed to look like Drive to Survive on Netflix, which is like, it's a Netflix documentary, which is the kind of style that I'm going for. So I found a floor plan online of how they actually set it up on the thing. I think ours was very similar to that. I think we didn't quite have a bright enough spotlight at the back for it to be able to create that effect at the back. But in this project, I definitely want to have like proper like real interviews with actual people. Then this is like so when I'm going to talk about like how Facebook was invented and stuff, I want to try and experiment in Adobe Premiere because it's not something that I'm great at, so I really want to push myself with this project. So learn new skills like a timeline effect. So it's sort of like it'll go from the current year to whatever time it was, and then back to present and moving, because it's just a good way of like ordering it all, and it'll like teach me a new technique to learn. So so the reason I've picked this idea is basically because it's a much broader audience. It's something that I've not really touched upon. I did research it in my Unit 12, but which is more of another good reason to do it because it means I've already got a general understanding of it. And it sort of allows, it's more, it's just something a bit different that I've not really done. I've never really created a documentary that I've put a lot of time and effort into. So yeah, it should be something that's just, and hopefully it'll teach me more practically, like hands-on in terms of like finding footage and editing it. And I'm not great with Adobe, but I want to make sure that I actually am. So I think this project will help me do that. So the intent is it's sort of like, it's more social, and it's kind of potentially a bit of a political issue because obviously the argument will be that it's a matter that's something that lawmakers should investigate and have a look into. And just the other day I saw that Adolescence, the TV show, which is sort of based around things like this and Red Pill and sort of things like that, was actually being discussed in the Houses of Parliament. So it could be a little bit political, but I'd probably say it's more social. In terms of key contributors, it's going to be me, and it's just going to be a lot of found footage really, but I will need some peers and people to interview, which I've already got a few people in mind hopefully, if they're interested in doing it. In terms of setting, I just need the studio. I'll probably for about 3 or 4 hours. That might even be too long. I might not even need all that time. I'm just thinking because the setup, things like that. I need to obviously formulate questions to ask, but they shouldn't be too long and too hard. And I put as like a bit of like a potential. I could book it out for a few different slots in case anything goes wrong in those slots. Research. I need to obviously research my audience. This is mainly for 2 reasons. One, because I need to try and obviously make sure I'm actually targeting my audience and trying to get my product to the people that I actually want it to get to. But I also need my audience, they'll obviously actually be in like the documentary in terms of analytics, figures, statistics, things like that are actually going to feature in the documentary, so it kind of goes hand in hand a little bit. In terms of technical, I'm going to have to do a lot of research on Adobe Premiere and different skills like that, because I am really like, it's quite an alien software to me. I'm not great with it. I obviously I also need to have a look at different like equipment and microphones specifically for audio, because I'm going to voice over the actual documentary throughout. And again, I've never made or tackled a documentary like that, so audio and sound like that and things like that will have to be something I need to actually research. And then finally, I've got in there the sort of presentation practice, so the best site to display my work on and how I'll show it off at the end of year show effectively. At the moment, because I'm not really thinking that far ahead, but at the moment my general idea would be to sort of, we've obviously got the website that it's all going onto, all the work, but then I'm also thinking of creating a separate website to have like the film, and almost have like a documentary would have its own sort of website, like that sort of thing, like if that makes sense, to sort of promote it. And maybe like a TikTok page as well with some clips and things like that just from the documentary, with like a little trailer, because it's like short form content's the sort of thing it sort of fits my target audience, being 18 to 35. This is my UAL plan. It's going alright so far. I'm relatively stuck to a lot of it. Yeah. And then that's the second part to it. This is audience as well. So in terms of audience, I'm just going to try and target for around 18 to 35. That'll sort of go to, that's important because things with 18 to 35, I need to make sure I'm getting it on like an appropriate platform. That's why I mentioned putting it on, I think obviously the documentary will actually go on YouTube, but that's why I think creating a website for it and creating something that's like a little bit more interactive would be better, because, and then putting it on TikTok as well, because the short form content obviously it fits that age demographic and bracket quite well, maybe more the 18 to 24, but still. And as well, it's interesting to see that obviously younger generations, they are engaging in discussions around mental health and well-being. Like as a generation, I feel like health and things like that are being a lot more targeted, and younger people are taking more action about the health. So it definitely targets towards that. In terms of gender, it's relatively gender neutral. Like it's for both men and women. It's not really targeting anything specifically, because it's going to hopefully resonate with different aspects of like self-esteem, body image, and the pressure of social comparisons and things like that. In terms of interests, I'm not fully sure, because I've not fully researched it yet, but I'm assuming that it's going to be things like, it needs to be interested in mental health, social media. Social media is quite used generally by a lot of people around the audience that I'm trying to reach anyway, so it shouldn't really be a massive problem. Yeah, and I'm going to be probably targeting for around Gen Z, because obviously they use social media. And then so the geo-demographic is going to have to be also English-speaking countries, because I don't speak any other language, unfortunately. So in terms of conclusion, the reason I've gone with this idea is just purely because I think it's got a bit of relevancy and urgency. Like I mentioned earlier on Adolescence, which is on Netflix, it links this quite well in terms of it shows the negative effects that social media can have on young, impressionable minds. So it's definitely something that is relevant and is being talked about within like culture and people in general, and it also increases the awareness in like social media and negative effects of it, because until something like that was created, like not many people knew that there's such negative harms and things like that. And I've not quite decided yet, but I think I'm going to have a look into how these like social medias try to get you addicted to it, because that just sort of like is a bit like a subsection, because that will fit in well with it, because like there's such things as like when you open up Instagram and you look in your top right, the notification is red, and you always associate red with like something that's like instant and you need to like alert to it. So it's just things like that. And TikTok, obviously, it's just a general scroll. You open it up straight away and there's a video right there and then. So that's something that I might research as well, because I think that will fit quite well with the idea and the things that I'm going to discuss within the documentary. And yeah.
Okay, good. Stay there a minute. What's my question going to be? Lost my question. Oh yeah. Were you going to consider? So you're saying your target audience is Gen Z. What about, like, if you're trying to raise awareness of it? What about? Have you considered other generations?
Yeah. So I'd say I've considered the idea of like parents and carers and things like that. That are obviously, because they might watch it hopefully to sort of learn about what the children are doing and things like that. Because I think that's definitely an audience I need to make sure. Not that I wouldn't say I'm necessarily targeting, but I need to make sure I'm definitely not excluding it. So I need to make sure it's not too like Gen Z focused. It needs to be broad.
It's like a secondary audience.
Yeah.
And then what about what are you going to need to look at in terms of your website if you're going to have a separate website for it?
I need to find a tool that I'm going to create the website on. But what do you mean?
Like the design?
Yeah, I need to come up with like colour schemes and things like that. At the moment, I'm basing it around. I like the idea of doing a Netflix sort of style, but that's more of a developing idea because I'm not sure if all black and red would look great on the website as like a colour scheme. And I need to maybe have like. So far, I'm thinking of things like an about page, like having like. As silly as it sounds, like questions from the director and things like that. Literally set it up as in it's like a web page that's been designed to like advertise the documentary.
Mhm.
Just like if an average person went on to have a look at it,
Mhm.
it would be specific for that.
Okay. I think that's it. Thank you very much. Well done. Well done.